Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and you know how I'm always talking about Kickstarters and how great they are. Well, this time around, we're taking things a little bit more international. So it is with great pleasure I say Guten Tag to Roland Heep and Guten Tag to Joerg Albers.
Guten Tag, guten Abend.
Guten Tag. Wie gehen Sie?
Oh, es geht gut. Es geht gut.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
Bit of a confession to make. I'm an army brat, so I was actually born in Iserlohn, just outside of Dusseldorf.
Oh my God, Iserlohn, that's my area of the country.
So for those that have no idea what we're talking about, Roland and Joerg are from Germany, and they are German TV writers, and they've got a great Kickstarter to talk to us about.
Yeah,
that will be great.
Yeah, cool. Right, so let's start at the top and work our way down. The book. This is Back to Fairtaylia. I absolutely love the name. It makes me get all tongue twisty, which makes me smile because I want to say a fairy tale, but it isn't. It's kind of like a mix up of that. Who came up with the idea for this in the first instance?
I think we both got the same idea at the same time. I mean, the name itself, I think, is we wanted something that springs out to you immediately. I mean, if you want to have some kind of fairy tale fantasy country where you don't know how to pronounce the name, like you maybe do, just call it, I don't know, Lysadia or something. So we said, go with Fairtaylia, you know immediately what it means, and there you go. It's fairy tales.
Perfect. It actually it works brilliantly because you look at the words and you get it. Yeah, you absolutely totally get it. So I think that's a great way of kind of crossing any sort of language barriers. Did you find that was a hard thing, having to kind of cater to the non-German speaking audience?
Yeah, of course, a bit. But one of the things that's why we choose fairy tales is, of course, we thought, okay, if we're going to do an American book or something that should play and be so in the US, the UK, wherever you are, go with Grimm's fairy tales. I mean, that's the basic. That's something that's, German. Everybody knows. So, and then
don't tell that to Zenoscope, will you?
And then go from there. But of course, if we go into Fairtaylia, it's not just Grimm's fairy tales. It's basically everything you can think of.
Cool. Excellent. We have to give a quick shout out. Roland is in the middle of the country where internet depends on whether or not a bird has sat in a tree.
He was there, then he's gone, and he's back.
No, he's back. Roland, welcome.
It's terrible. I'm sorry. This connection, I've never had it this bad. We just did a podcast a few days back. And
You're talking to other people.
To other people? Oh,
talking to other people.
I think I'll let Joerg be the lead person, and I'll just try to, chip in something whenever I can. But right now, it's a little better. Yeah, technology.
Cool. In that case, I'm going to, Roland, I'll throw you a question straight away whilst we've got you here then. So, what's the inspiration behind it? Yeah, the name Fairtaylia, you're absolutely right. I agree with Joerg. It says straight away what it is on the tin. But behind that, you've got these four characters that kind of have a history, and then they're kind of spread apart, and then they're getting pulled back together. What's the inspiration behind that sort of thing for you?
Well, I mean, I think, I don't know if Joerg, did you already tell about the origin of the story?
Nope.
Because
it's been the title.
Because it's been a long time in the making. I mean, we started like almost 20 years ago because we're TV writers over here in Germany. So we write for television, we write movies, and we always wanted to make a fantasy show that takes place in the world of the Brothers Grimm, basically, because it's such a German world. And so we tried to sell various versions of this over the years, and nobody really wanted to do them. We don't know. Maybe we just crappy writers, but and so at some point we decided let's do a comic book about it. And I think we were a little bit inspired, obviously, by things like It, where you have like a bunch of grown-ups who have to, come back to their childhood. But also we figured we wanted to do like a comedy version a little bit of this whole kids. What happens when kids who discover Narnia tell their parents about it? Well, they will probably send to a mental hospital because that's just crazy what they're talking about. And so that's basically where this idea came from. One of the kids spilled the beans, and then obviously, everything fell apart. And only like 20 years later, they need to come back together. At that point, they don't even believe in that anymore. They think it was just a delusion. It was whatever it was. And now they have to come back together. And they're very different characters by now, because we have one of our characters. He's a child psychologist who tells everybody, don't let children have too much fantasy. That's not good for them. They have to be real. They have to be in real life. That's Tommy. Then we have Lee, who's a book writer. She writes children's books about her adventures in Fairtaylia, but she also believes it's her imagination that comes up with this. She doesn't remember that these are actually things that happened to her and everybody. Who else do we have, Joerg?
We have
your president guy.
Johnny. We have Johnny, who is a big pharma CEO. He's Johnny, he's a big pharma CEO. And Anna, who's an actress. And finally, we have Pete, aka Stinky Pete, who's the president of the United States.
Stinky Pete. having a look through the book and checking out the video, there's lots of like kind of minor influences in there. It's a little bit Peter Pan in places, a little bit Jumanji in places. And you guys have already mentioned Narnia. Is that kind of and the Brothers Grimm? For those that aren't aware, the Grimm fairy tales, not the Zenoscope stuff, although that's its own thing. We're talking about the original. The Grimm fairy tales where the wolf actually eats Red Riding Hood, and that's the end.
And she's a little girl, not a hot.
Yeah, none of this woodcutter coming to save anybody.
The original are very grim.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a nice, it's a mix, isn't it? You kind of got these two distinct elements. You mentioned it earlier, Roland. You've got Grimm fairy tales, which are the fairy tales with horror elements, but then you've also got the kind of, fantasy lands such as Narnia. You've got, as I said, Jumanji. You've got Peter Pan in there. How do you kind of, and this is, Joerg will go with yourself. How do you kind of mix that up to make it a whole new thing?
I think one of the things we wanted to put everything in there that is fun. So if we think it fits with the characters and the world, if it's fun, it's in there. And a second part was, of course, that our artist PR, who did the pencils, he came up with such a lot of stuff. And the moment we saw some stuff, we usually ran with it, because it was a constant snowballing of stuff, and in the end, it was packed to the gills with everything. So there's Disney there, and Narnia, and everything you can think of. And if we like it, if it's fun, it's in there.
Cool.
Right.
So then, again, to both of you, Roland, you can maybe answer this. Does this mean then that the storyline and the plots for the characters are quite fluid? Do you have like a start point and an end point, and everything in between is up for grabs?
Yes. No, we basically have everything kind of already mapped out. I mean, the first 6 issues are actually finished. So it's not like we only have issue 1, which is now the Kickstarter, obviously, but we have 5 more issues already totally finished. And they are volume 1 in a 3-volume series. With each volume probably going to be like 6 issues. And what we always like to say is the first 6 issues, they are very fast-paced, a kind of roller coaster ride, and they end with a very big cliffhanger. And we also like to say that it's basically comparable to maybe where in Endgame, when they kill Thanos the first time. When they think that's basically when 20-30 minutes into Endgame, they thought they kill him, and then the movie actually starts. And that is basically where volume 1 ends. The real meat of the story, probably even like the character development, the change of the characters, this will happen actually in volume 2 and 3, because the first volume is such a fast-paced ride, and they are basically also taken on this ride. They really don't have much time to think. They have to act and fast. It's very action packed. But then there's this big cliffhanger, and now they will have to rethink a few things. Yeah. Wow. To not spoil too much.
Yeah. Let's not go too far. Far. So what we will do, we will show the video that is on the Kickstarter. So if you give me 2 seconds, I will add that to everything. Look at that. Hey, look, there you are.
Well, these guys.
Who are these guys?
Who are these guys?
Am I drooling? What is happening?
I like when you say we shouldn't be on camera. It's like, yeah, tough. You're on
There's a reason for that, yeah.
Right, okay, here's the video. Let's have a listen and see what is going on.
Hi everyone, I'm Joerg.
I'm Roland.
We're two TV writers from Germany and we shouldn't be on camera. But here we are, and there's a very good reason.
Yes, we wrote a comic book called Back To Fairtaylia. And this is the Kickstarter for issue 1. So please give us a kickstart into the troll balls and get ready for madness. Lean back, rev up the chainsaw, and come with us. Back to Fairtaylia!
Oh my god.
Why?
Oh, God. Are you killing me? For such a well put together advert for a comic book, I was buying it. I was like, oh, this is it. This is great. And then oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we shouldn't be on camera. I mean, we said it. So nobody's gonna argue against that.
Oh, you're killing me. All right, okay, so you know what? The production value looks absolutely the bomb. It looks gorgeous. Well
I mean,
done.
PR is such an amazing artist. I mean, he's so incredible. And Liz Buenaventura and Esther Salguero, who took over from Liz with issue 3 as a colorist, they did just an amazing job. And then, of course, we have Mike Stock, who did the letters. The team is just amazing. And we couldn't be more happy about that, because finding these people is obviously essential. Otherwise,
Yeah, I totally get it.
It's just us and puny words.
Well, see, no, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I know comics are a collaboration from the get-go. Whether it's, I know people will say, well, the artist's more important than the writer. I'll tell you this now, just from my own personal perspective, and this isn't to do with your book at all, right? Because your book looks gorgeous. But I can't read a book that's written badly, no matter how great the art is.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I totally agree. Yes, I agree. It has to be all of it. It has to be one. Yeah.
I can read a well-written book with bad art. I can do that without a shadow of a doubt, because it's a story that gets me going. Hell, I read DC Comics, so I know all about some of that. But generally speaking, if it's the other way around and the art's fantastic and the story's pants, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to be engaged, right?
Yeah.
So please don't undersell yourselves, because to make this book work, you've clearly got to put the time in. You've got to get the characters into the situations. You've got to get them known. You've got to get them the history told. You've kind of got to set the reader up so they know what to expect. And then when you've done all that, you pull the tablecloth away and everything. Oh my God, everything changes, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you guys are professional writers. You know this. You don't need me saying this. That's fine.
Well, but of course, we have to say this is our very first comic book, and that was actually a very interesting experience, because we've written 5 years. We've been writing TV shows, soap opera, daily drama, movies, everything, and that is a whole different format, because. Because the comic books, I mean, you only have 23, 24 pages. I mean, our final issue is a bit longer, but, we try to be in that range. And you have to tell a story that kind of feels like one story that also has like maybe a cliffhanger. And it was really difficult to do. So I hope we kind of managed.
Joerg, do you find that there's a great difference from dealing with kind of televised writing and script writing as opposed to comic books? Because I mean, in soap operas, you've got to have the cliffhanger anyway, right? So is that not
that's what I'm always saying. That's why we need to have a huge cliffhanger and at the end of issue 6, because that's the thing about daytime stuff. Daytime drama, you need a cliffhanger every episode. So that's one of the things. But I think
do you guys get
script writing? There is a huge difference. I mean, everything that you can write in a TV script, every glance, a change of attitude with characters. I mean, it's one panel and it's the next panel, and you only have 24 pages and we have a lot of characters. So it's like, wow, if you want to cram a lot of stuff in there, you really have to know exactly what you're trying to tell with every single panel. So that was quite the learning experience.
So I'm not sure if you guys get this over here. Do you guys get EastEnders over there from the BBC?
No, but we know, of course. I mean, that's the kind of daytime drama we basically trained on. It was after Neighbors, I think, actually.
So in EastEnders, so for everyone in the States who's listening to this, EastEnders is it's a show, it's a soap opera, very much like the American soap operas. But the key to successfully the actors is if they get to say the last line before the theme song kicks in at the end. It's like, what do you mean he's having an affair? Dum 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 dum. That's the key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're my twin. Yeah.
Dum 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 dum.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the kind of beat. And you know what? Comic books aren't that dissimilar from that kind of method. If you're thinking from like a 6-issue miniseries, because you want to, you've got the mini beats on the page, on the even pages to make you turn over, not on the odd pages to make you turn over, and then you've got obviously the big end that makes you want to go, oh, I've got to go and buy issue 2 or 3 or whichever it is. Cool. So let me ask you this question then. This again to both of you. Roland, we'll go with you first, just because you dodgy internet connection. Then we'll move down. what type of writers are you then when it comes to writing? Because obviously with a television background, you kind of, are you aware of the comic book page? So therefore you're thinking where the angle of the camera is going to be, who you want to see in the shot. Are you kind of thinking with like your television screen in your mind? Or are you just thinking, well, you know what, we've read comics in the past, we can do this?
Yeah, I mean, when you write a TV script, you also kind of direct it in your mind. Obviously, another director comes in and does her or his thing with your, but you kind of have to see the movie in your head or the TV show in your head. So with the comic book, it's similar, that you kind of see the page in your head, but it is more difficult because, as Joerg just said, you really have to choose your panels very carefully because you only have so many per page and per issue. And I think that was the big change in terms of how we needed to rethink our writing. But yeah, there's always in my head what I see.
Okay, and Joerg, same question yourself. How do you kind of deal with that? Because what your vision may be in your head will be different to what PR pulls out from the art point of view.
Yeah. I mean, the main advantage is, of course, especially if you just talked about the EastEnders, the tea time telly TV daytime drama. It's not very expensive, and you only have that many scenes. It's the good thing about a comic book is, and especially with PR, you can pull out the budget. It's whatever you imagine, it's there. You can say this is the summer blockbuster movie thing, whatever you want to do, and you can do whatever. You have to choose your panels, but at the same time, you don't have to look for budget. You can do whatever you want, and that's the great thing about it.
For those who are interested in Fairtaylia, there is some social media platforms going on at the bottom there. You've got the Twitter, you've got the Facebook, and you've got the Instagram. Yep. Look at you guys being all trendy. Yeah, I don't think I even have half of those. I mean,
yeah, those old farts like us try to be like the young people, giving our best.
I came off Facebook a while ago. I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, cool. It seems like you kind of have to do this, especially if you're, we are totally unknown people in the comic book world. Nobody has ever heard of us. Nobody has ever heard of Back to Fairtaylia. So you need to do some promotion somewhere. And these days, it seems like those are the channels to use.
Well, that's cool. It's interesting you mentioned that, and I'm going to bring this up before as my penultimate question before we go to our ad break. I just want to quickly jump back to your Kickstarter page. Give me 2 seconds. I'll bring this up for you. You say these things like, oh, we're unknowns. We're new to comic books. But as of the time of recording, you have 64 backers for your book. You have 4 days to go. And you are £1,081 over a £488 goal. So to change that to US, you've actually been pledged $1,296 for a goal of $585. Now, guys, I don't mean to blow smoke up your bums or anything, but that's a pretty good return for someone who says, for a pair of writers says, hey, we don't know what we're doing, we're totally new to this. That's a pretty big return. Well done, gents.
Thank you. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of work into this too, and also obviously, people like PR and Liz, they are more established in the independent comic book field than we are, and they obviously also have a fan base, which helped a lot. So thank you to them.
They got the word out. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Thank you guys.
Yes.
So, TV writers, fans of comic books in the day. Do you still read comic books? Do you?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, there's. In the back, you can see the boxes piling up. Can you see me? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, he's breaking up again.
I'm breaking up again.
There you go. He's
back. No, I'm reading tons of comic books all the time, and I love them.
What's the comic book industry like over in Germany? Is it do you get Marvel, DC, or is it all independent? Is it all homegrown stuff?
It's kind of all over the place. I mean, I'm just looking here at the pile I've got in here. I'm reading the Marvels, which I really enjoy. This current Shaolin Cowboy, and I mean, what do we have? Undiscovered Country, some Star Wars. Some
of the Star Wars stuff's really good, definitely.
Yeah, the stuff is really does a great job writing, and so no, I mean, and these days it's a bit difficult to catch up with like the superhero stuff because you have to read 100 million comic books to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Sometimes do it. So I'm going for the mini series, for like, you know, special creators. I mean, I will read everything from Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, these people. I love Brian Michael Bendis stuff, and you know, so yeah, basically that's.
And Joerg, how about yourself? Are you a comic book fan, or are you aware of them?
Yeah, I actually, when we met in college, Roland and he gave me all the first good stuff to read, you know, all the classics, the Watchmen and all that kind of stuff, and it basically snowballed from there. I had to cut back in the last few years a bit because I don't have any more shelving left. And I also couldn't keep up with it anymore because usually most of the time I forgot what I read the last month. It's like it was piling up. It's too much.
Oh, don't!
Yeah.
We're getting old. We're getting old.
Oh, don't! I don't know if I dare. Dare? Okay, there you go. That's my current reading pile.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
that tracks.
That's the stuff I read for fun, not the stuff that I read for Comic Crusaders. So, would you guys say you're more Marvel or DC or more independent? What's your?
Oh, that's a loaded question, I think.
Well,
I mean, hero-wise, I'm more Marvel. Also, the movies, I really prefer the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love a lot of the Marvel heroes like Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. But DC has done also fantastic stuff. I mean, there's so many great Batman stories, some really good Superman stuff. So it's some. I really can't say. I would probably have read more Marvel in my life than DC, I'd say.
Okay. Joerg?
For me, it's the other way around. When I started, it was mostly DC, and then it started everything from JSA, JLA, Green Lantern, Hawkman. I think everything. But again, after a while, I'm converted a bit more to Marvel. I think there was a Brian Michael Bendis one, Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't know.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah,
yeah. And there was something. And then I read more of that. Cool. But I think it's, I guess, more DC than Marvel actually.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I always when people know that I'm a geek at work, and they'll say, "Oh, you like comic books," and then they'll start talking about Marvel movies, and I'm a DC guy, right? I mean, you know, I've got DC tags and all sorts. Right?
Yes,
it's like I wear my heart on my sleeve all the time, right? And I always said that the Marvel movies are a bit plug and play, and what I mean by that is you could take out one character, put in a different character, and the movie would just carry along, and no one would notice any difference. That kind of annoys me. At least the DC movies have different tones, but different.
That's true.
Yeah. Right. Time for an advert. See, the jury's out. One guy's Marvel, one guy's DC. You know, I'll tell you what. Why don't we mix it up? Why don't we have a bit of a crisis? Crisis in the Toyverse. Check it out. One of our pods on the UTPN. There you go, Crisis in the Toyverse, gents. You never know.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. You might be on there in a few years' time. Get McFarlane Toys involved. I'm sure he'll knock some toys up for you.
There are a lot of options. Yes.
What's the big dream then with Fairtaylia? Obviously, the Kickstarter is doing fantastic. It's already hit its goal. So therefore, anybody who pledges now, even in these late stages, they're guaranteed the book, whether they choose physical, digital, depending on where they are in the world, of course. So what's the big goal? Are you wanting to self-publish continually, or are you wanting to get picked up by a publisher? Are you looking to go the Netflix route and have something that's kind of out there, serialized? Roland will go with you first.
Yeah,
always Roland because his internet's dodgy. Sorry, Joerg.
Yeah. Well, it's first of all, we already have the publisher. It's Invader Comics, and they're really great. Thanks to all involved, like Mike Perkins, who's like the boss, and Keith Foster, Kevin Miller. They are really helping us to get this Kickstarter on the road and publishing the book in the end. And I think so. We're happy with that. But obviously, we would love. I think our biggest dream. Oh no, I'm gone. Joerg has to continue.
Well, we would love to do this as an animated show, maybe an animated musical show, even. I don't know. That would be the best thing ever. That would be the best thing.
Dungeons and Dragons with music.
And it would actually also work as a live action movie because obviously as screenwriters we kind of have it structured as a movie script with 3 acts and everything, so you could do that, and who knows, maybe that happens. But our main goal was to make a comic book, and as we always joke, is like other people in our age, they buy a motorbike or start an affair. We just poured the money into this book because we paid everybody. This is not like those people didn't do this for free. Because we believe in paying creators, so we paid all the artists and everyone who was involved with the book, and so that was our investment. Just for we wanted to do this, the comic book. That was the main goal.
Cool, excellent. Have an affair, ride a motorbike, make a comic book.
Yeah, there's not much to think about what you would do. Obviously it's a book.
I don't know if Dua Lipa came knocking on my door. That might change, but still.
Well, the thing is, the affair is probably way more expensive in the end. So.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a fair point. That's a fair shot. Right. Okay. Time to put your cards on the table, gents. You ready?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
We'll go with Joerg first for this one, and then we'll move up to Roland. Who's your favorite character in the book?
Oh, that's a mean one. That's a mean one. I don't know.
Like, what's your favorite child?
I only have one child for that exact reason. So
yeah, me too. I only have one.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Oh no, this is not diplomatic. It's a cop out. But okay, what I love about it is when all 5 of them. Let's call them the 5-headed dragon, because when all 5 of them are together, they're like this. I always say it's like the worst college reunion, or you would say, your best mates from uni coming back together, and they hate each other, and all of them together. That's, I think, what I love most about it, and that's what I love the book most, when they're all together and they're bantering and they're fighting, and I think that's the best thing. So
they're like the anti-Power Rangers, then, right?
Yeah, the anti-Power
Rangers.
Yeah,
they actually have a Voltron move. They actually have a Voltron move.
Oh, here you go. How did I see that coming? Roland, go on then. Which is your favorite character?
Wow. Yeah. Again, also very difficult. I really love to write Tommy, because the idea that you have this child psychologist who really is not into like having children have fantasy life and really want to prepare them for the real world. There was a lot of fun dialogue to write for him, and he's such a arrogant guy in the beginning, so I really like that. But also, we have our children's book writer Lee. She's also great, because like we are writers, so we put a little bit of that into her. And then of course there's the president of the United States, who's a total idiot, but he's not as bad as Donald Trump. We actually started writing this. There was no Donald Trump in the making. That's how long we were working on this. So
Yeah, whatevs. I noticed that neither of you answered that question there. Thanks, cheers.
But one thing, one other person we have to actually, there's Drinkerbell, which you can see in the corner right here with the chainsaw, the fairy with the chainsaw. And she is actually also a main character. And there's a great story behind it, because we didn't even think about her until PR just put her into this cover picture, which basically was one of the first images we came up with. And he put her in there, and we thought, like, who's that? And then we were talking, and then we thought, like, she has to be in the book. And so we made her and like basically the sidekick to Skippy, who's the squirrel that you also saw before. And she will play a major role in the book at some point, and she's really great. And so she only came because of PR.
Excellent. So let me ask you a question then, as a writers, you guys are writers, how does that dynamic work for you? Because is one of you kind of like the story guy, the other guy the dialogue, or is it more mixed with that, the fact that you both write, you both do dialogue, and then you kind of come together to even out the edges a little bit? Joerg, we'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, I think we're kind of used to working together, because that's what we do for TV too. It's usually we break story together, and then usually one goes away and writes the first draft of the script, the other one does a pass, and then it slowly comes together. And it's the same with dialogue. I mean, sometimes it's just about the characters. You think, okay, that character works best for me. I know exactly what he or she would say at that same point or not. So we pass it off one after the other, and then when everybody is happy with it, we say, okay, we're done. But simply we're used to write together, so it's not a big deal. Or we don't play favorites or say one's the story guy, one's the dialogue guy. I like to write dialogue because I talk a lot, but but I think it's basically passing it off, one draft after the other.
I suppose that's a really good thing, because you get too focused, right? So Joerg, if you're writing and you really like a certain scene, you don't see the flaws within the scene till you pass it off to a new set of eyes. And then the new set of eyes says, oh, hold on a second, how's he doing this? Because last issue he did this. And you're like, don't. Yeah, and then vice versa. So, yeah, it's cool. It's a good idea, that. Definitely. And the fact that I absolutely totally get that some writers like certain characters more than others. And that's across the board, right? I know certain...
Right. Sure.
And it's like having an in-house editor. You have basically an in-house editor, because you pass it off and you edit, the draft from Roland, and then I write a draft, and it's like basically editing at the same time while you're writing it. So you catch mistakes and stuff that doesn't work, or stuff you completely forgot about.
Yeah,
that's good.
So then, how does that in-house editor works for you two, whereas the book editor works with everybody? Is that right?
Right. Although in this case, we really didn't have much edit in that case, because I mean, we've been working so much on this, and they basically liked it. They gave us a few things here and there, but I mean, it's probably different when you work for a big company and you have to keep other characters, other books in mind. In this case, it's just self-contained, and then some of the language. I mean, we are pretty good in English, but of course we're not native speakers, so it always helps if somebody goes through everything, especially the dialogue, to see if it works or if there's some strange things going on there.
That brings up an interesting point. You guys are German, therefore you're going to have a German audience. Do you create a book in various languages, or are you going straight English and everyone has to deal with that?
Yeah, we started this in English. We didn't translate it for now. I mean, if there'd be interest, we would of course do a translation, but for now we just wrote it in English, I think. Yeah.
Is that because the majority of comics that you see over in Germany are still in English, or the big comics like Marvel and DC, do they get translated into German?
Well, they are. I mean, we actually wanted to have an American comic book. That was, as I said, that was basically our dream. We think I wanted to see a project of us in Previews magazine. So there was a little bit, because I've been ordering Previews since its inception. When it came out after it. First it was Advanced Comics, then it became Previews, and that was kind of like the idea. Let's do American comic book, and maybe somebody picks it up over here, but if not, whatever. We just want to do this.
No, excellent. One of the things I think that's helped a lot of Kickstarter ideas is the internet. The fact is, you don't have to have a physical copy anymore, right? And for I noticed on your Kickstarter page, sometimes the physical copy will only ship to certain countries. Is that a financial element?
No, we actually, in the first few days, it was only to the States and Canada, but then we worked a little bit on it, and we now are able to make it available, especially to European readers, also the physical copy. We just figured out a way to do not have much postage. You know, that's the problem. If you send something, if you ever ordered something from Kickstarter, backed something from Kickstarter, like a comic book, it's sometimes $20 just for the postage and packaging. And we managed to, because of some tricks, have it very low, just like $5 extra, and then we can ship it to Germany and also to Europe.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I always say about Kickstarters is we should always, fans of Kickstarters, whether it be European books, English books, US books, Canadian, wherever, always check to see where the book will ship to, and also bear in mind the cost that's involved. If you, for me, and I back Kickstarters, as much as I dislike getting digital copies, I'm more of a, as you can see by the bookcase behind me, I like a copy in my hand, right? So as much as I like that, I know full well the cost of sending it to me in the UK is going to have an impact on me and the creator. So I would rather the creator have the money and be done with it. So I will take a digital copy every time, purely because it saves money down the line. If you guys have put the effort into it to create this book, and this, as we said earlier, you guys have smashed your target, I want you guys to reap that. I don't want you to spend your hard-earned cash having to send me a 22-page comic book. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
But
I do that sometimes too.
I'm a nice guy, so
yeah. But no, yeah. Sometimes I do this too. But sometimes I'm actually kind of like the physical stuff too. It depends on the comic. I mean, sometimes I do the PDF. Sometimes I do the real one. I mean, it just depends. Yeah.
Joerg is definitely a digital guy because of his shelf space, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't see it. You don't see it. His shelf is way worse than mine.
No, even worse. No, I actually prefer the physical copy. You know, floppies. That's, you know, it's. I love them, but
me too.
Again, shelf space. I mean, after a while, you just can't anymore.
Yeah,
and it's breaking apart and it's falling apart. Everything. No, it's just.
Yeah. Do I pay for apartment repairs or do I buy a new Batman comic? Well, Batman it is. Excellent. Okay, brilliant. So your project, your Kickstarter, at the time of recording has 4 days to go. Get in there while it is hot. 64 backers. That's a good number. That's a solid number, isn't it? For number of backers.
We don't really know that much. You know, the thing again, also this is our first Kickstarter. I mean, of course I backed stuff, but I never really looked at the numbers. I'm not sure if I'm still there. I don't see anybody.
Yeah, well, we can see you. We can see you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we can see you. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I don't really know. I mean, we are very happy about it, obviously, because we didn't know if anybody would ever, pay money for this. So we are very happy about the number we got, and we're satisfied. I don't know. I mean,
but we have nothing to compare it to, so we're happy with. Of course, it's 200% funded. Is great, but of course,
No, cool, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So for those that are interested in the Kickstarter, there is the link. You can pause the pod if you want. It means we have to pull funny faces and whatever, but it's there. Check it out. Back to Fairtaylia. You can stick that into your Kickstarter search. It will come up. For the guys with information around what they are doing, you can check them out on social media. You've got your Facebook page. You've got your Instagram. You've got your Twitter. Tell you what, with all those notifications, your phone will be vibrating.
I turn them off. I turn them off. I look at them once a day or twice.
Say that. See?
Oh, old man.
I can tell he's not into advertising, is he? Yeah. Don't worry about your notifications, kids. Turn them off. No, turn them on. So you get the
all the time. No, I mean, I'm kidding. I'm checking them all the time because I want to see like how many people have reported.
Whatever. Yeah, once a day. Yeah. Shh, don't worry, we'll edit that bit out. We won't really.
No.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending the time with me. I really do appreciate it. Your book looks gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Reads funny. It's great. I love the mix of characters that are going on in there. Honestly, what an absolute joy to read and an absolute joy to speak to you too. That has been fantastic. Thank you so much for spending the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
You're more than welcome. Don't forget to check out the UCPM for all your favorite shows, including, if you're Marvel, Roland. You can check out our No Prize podcast for everything that is Marvel, MCU, and Disney Plus. And for all you DC fans, Joerg, me, you can check out the Definitive Crusade, where everything is DC. And if you like a bit of both, why not head over to the Old Timers comic book show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. You never know, Watchmen might be on there sooner than you think. Won't be for a while, I don't think. We haven't done that for ages. But still, it was a nice line. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much. Well done on your successful launch of your Kickstarter. All right. So all that's left for me to say is bye. So as always, I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes. As for everyone else, adios.
Bye.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.